This is TWiT.
Oh no, John Perry Barlow has passed.
Yes.
Oh no.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that makes me so
He'd been
sad.
ill for quite some time. John Perry Barlow, he was a Grateful Dead lyricist.
One of the great gentlemen of the open internet age.
A classy guy, a Montana rancher who also helped founded the Electronic Frontier Foundation and did so much to promote the free internet.
God, he wasn't that old.
No, he'd been ill. In fact, we went to a really wonderful benefit for him in San Rafael last year with Bobby Weir of the Grateful Dead and Ramblin' Jack Elliott, Sean Lennon. It was a really amazing tribute to him to raise money for his hospital bills because he had been.
What was the beginning of his ailment? Do you know? It just piled on. I know, but I don't know where it started.
It says in his obituary he'd been dealing with one health issue after another in recent years, died in his sleep. He was only 70. You're right. He wasn't very old. He led a very energetic life, and maybe he just burnt the candle faster than some of us. He was a fellow student at the Fountain Valley School in Colorado Springs with Bob Weir. So they went to high school together and were, of course, friends for years. He wrote many of the Dead's iconic songs with Weir, including Cassidy, Throwing Stones, Hell in a Bucket, Lost Sailor, Saint of Circumstance, Black-Throated Wind, The Music Never Stopped, Looks Like Rain, Mexicali Blues. It was really fun to hear Bob Weir and his pickup band play many of those songs for John at the tribute there. And John joined it via Skype. He joined the well in 1986. I was there too. Then 4 years later, in 1990, founded the Electronic Frontier Foundation. He and Mitch Kapor and John Gilmore, who was one of the cypher punks, and EFF, of course, remains to this day a great fighter for the freedom of the internet. And many of us remember John Perry Barlow's. In fact, I think you asked me to get him to read it again when I interviewed him on Triangulation.
I did.
What was the We the People of the Internet?
Yes. Did he do it? He didn't do it, right?
He kind of, I don't know. We'll have to go back and find it. He
finally did redo it.
He kind of poo-pooed it. He was embarrassed.
Yeah, but then I think he recognized how much it meant to people.
It was
it's a wonderful document. It is a wonderful document.
Kind of the first kind of statement that something was happening. That it was a nation of its own, sort of, right? The Declaration of Independence of Cyberspace.
Written in Davos.
Governments of the industrial world, you weary giants
give it some more. Give it some more, Leo.
Give it some more?
Do it for John. Do it for John.
Governments of the industrial world, you weary giants of flesh and steel. I come from cyberspace, the new home of mind. On behalf of the future, I ask you of the past to leave us alone. You are not welcome among us. You have no sovereignty where we gather. We have no elected government, nor are we likely to have one. So I address you with no greater authority than that with which liberty itself always speaks. It's just beautiful. I can't do it justice because it's so great. And maybe I could find him reading it.
He did finally read it about 2 years ago, I think.
Anyway, I was privileged to have met him many times and talked to him and interview him.
Here. I went to like early blogger cons with him. He was just a true wonderful gentleman.
Yeah, I remember
that's a huge loss.
Going to his home for a meeting of the EFF and others, and he was graceful, brilliant, funny. And a gentleman to the very end. And we're really going to miss John Perry Barlow.
I think it might be the last post that he put up on Facebook. It's just a beautiful little picture. I presume it's a grandson, getting a bris, I think. And he loved his daughters dearly. And
a Declaration of the Independence of Cyberspace, as written by John Perry Barlow at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, on February 8th, 1996. Governments of the industrial world, you weary giants of flesh and steel, I come from cyberspace, the new home of mind. On behalf of the future, I ask you of the past to leave us alone. You are not welcome among us. You have no sovereignty where we gather. We have no elected government, nor are we likely to have one, so I address you with no greater authority than that with which liberty itself always speaks. I declare the global social space we are building to be naturally independent of the tyrannies you seek to impose on us. You have no moral right to rule us, nor do you possess any methods of enforcement we have true reason to fear. Governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. You have neither solicited nor received ours. We did not invite you. You do not know us, nor do you know our world. Cyberspace does not lie within your borders. Do not think that you can build it as though it were a public works project. You cannot. It is an act of nature, and it grows itself through our collective actions. You have not engaged in our great and gathering conversation, nor did you create the wealth of our marketplaces. You do not know our culture, our ethics, or the unwritten codes that already provide our society more order than could be obtained by any of your external impositions. You claim there are problems among us that you need to solve. You use this claim as an excuse to invade our precincts. Many of these problems don't exist. Where there are real conflicts, where there are wrongs, we will identify them and address them by our means. We are forming our own social contract. This governance will arise according to the conditions of our world, not yours. Our world is different. Cyberspace consists of transactions, relationships, and thought itself, arrayed like a standing wave in the web of our communications. Ours is a world that is both everywhere and nowhere. But it is not where bodies live. We are creating a world that all may enter without privilege or prejudice accorded by race, economic power, military force, or station of birth. We are creating a world where anyone, anywhere, may express his or her beliefs, no matter how singular, without fear of being coerced into silence or conformity. Your legal concepts of property, expression, identity, movement, and context do not apply to us. They are based on matter. There is no matter here. Our identities have no bodies, so unlike you, we cannot obtain order by physical coercion. We believe that from ethics, enlightened self-interest, and the common weal, our governance will emerge. Our identities may be distributed across many of your jurisdictions. The only law that all of our constituent cultures would generally recognize is the Golden Rule. We hope we will be able to build our particular solutions on that basis. But we cannot accept the solutions you are attempting to impose. In the United States, you have today created a law, the Telecommunications Reform Act, which repudiates your own Constitution and insults the dreams of Jefferson, Washington, Mill, Madison, de Tocqueville, and Brandeis. These dreams must now be born anew in us. You are terrified of your own children, since they are natives in a world where you will always be immigrants. Because you fear them, you entrust your bureaucracies with the parental responsibilities you are too cowardly to confront yourselves. In our world, all the sentiments and expressions of humanity, from the debasing to the angelic, are parts of a seamless whole, the global conversation of bits. We cannot separate the air that chokes from the air upon which wings beat. In China, Germany, France, Russia, Singapore, Italy, and the United States, you are trying to ward off the virus of liberty by erecting guard posts at the frontiers of cyberspace. These may keep out the contagion for a small time, but they will not work in a world that will soon be blanketed with bit-bearing media. Your increasingly obsolete information industries would perpetuate themselves by proposing laws in America and elsewhere that claim to own speech itself throughout the world. These laws would declare ideas to be another industrial product no more noble than pig iron. In our world, whatever the human mind may create can be reproduced and distributed infinitely at no cost. The global conveyance of thought no longer requires your factories to accomplish. These increasingly hostile and colonial measures place us in the same position as those previous lovers of freedom and self-determination who had to reject the authorities of distant, uninformed powers. We must declare our virtual selves immune to your sovereignty, even as we continue to consent to your rule over our bodies. We will spread ourselves across the planet so that no one can arrest our thoughts. We will create a civilization of the mind in cyberspace. May it be more humane and fair than the world your governments have made before. Davos, Switzerland, February 8th, 1996, and read in New York City, July 30th, 2013.
So he wrote that 22 years ago, John Perry Barlow.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
that was lovely.
Well worth playing it. John Perry Barlow
I'm
passed
really
away
touched
today at the age of 70. And I'm glad he recorded that, and thanks to Idealog and the Q department for Department of Records for making that recording and for posting it on Vimeo. You can find it on Vimeo if you search for it.